Man, it feels like it's been ages since I've been in this endless white void all podcasts take place in. Hey, is that Jack? Wow, you look slightly different as to show the passage of time, but similar enough to be recognizable.
Yeah, I grew out my eyebrows. It feels really much like an excuse just for us to change outfits, I guess, right?
Yeah, but what good outfits they are. They're
They're pretty
slightly
nice.
edgier.
Yeah, generally, yeah. Mine's just like a different shade of red. I made a friend that you're probably never gonna meet and it won't be important, but they're kind of cool.
Hey, we have them in the back pocket though. That's what's important.
He's probably gonna die for us. It's fine.
Did you learn any new techniques?
No,
Yeah, that
but
sounds
the
about right.
but the ones I did know before are bigger now.
Ooh.
Have you found like anything new to do, or like any new places to go?
Now, did any plot happen while we were away?
Hopefully, if it's been a good year, that would be great.
Yep. Oh, we probably should get to the thing that we do.
I mean, I suppose if we're gonna be just kind of floating here, might as well fill up the space with podcast stuff. Yeah.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to O-Tōkushō. We're back after our long hiatus, but not the longest one, but still, this one's topical.
It's not quite manga levels of hiatus, but it's still certainly a
The
hiatus.
term New Year, New Us doesn't really apply to this podcast. It's basically much of the same.
New Year, same us.
However, we would like to expectations out for 2024. Ideally, I would like to have an episode per month, but you know what? No buts.
The year without ass.
Exactly.
Not a single butt will be had.
Get the heck out of here, fan service characters.
Oh, but there's so much more
We're getting
boob.
12 episodes out this year, so help me God. Or Kami.
I mean, depending on who you ask, it's literally the same thing.
But I'm also, me personally, I'm going to be streaming more under the Twitch banner of the Soul Kingu. And Jack is...
Doing the sporadic art stuff like I usually do. I'll be working on making children's books, so that'll be cool. Outside of that, I submitted some art stuff for the Pokemon art contest that came out this year. I highly advise anybody who has a passing interest to just participate. The more the merrier. And just, getting your stuff out there to the actual official Pokemon judges. Even if you don't win, you'll know that your filthy art has tainted the eyes of real Japanese men.
And that's all that really matters at the end of the day.
That's all that matters to me.
One thing I also would like to add to this podcast is I wanted to go over some check-in with what's coming out in the manga space. You know, what's happening with these new funky chapters that are coming out.
Yeah, the new, fresh New Year's things.
For instance, One Piece that we both read. We're finally done with Kuma's flashback, and I'll be honest, I wasn't huge on it. Sorry, but I feel like we kind of know that the Celestial Dragons aren't really good guys, and we kind of would have guessed that Kuma had a sad life, because, he's a cyborg now.
It's also a shame that being a Buccaneer still means virtually nothing. So him being another non-human race doesn't matter.
Though it seems like Oda's trying to suggest something, with the fact that he has free will still, kind of.
But even then, they could have just justified that with Haki before. They already had a built-in system in the universe. We don't need to shit on the Kuma backstory more than we already have. And, in all fairness, you're allowed to like it if you want to. There's nothing objectively bad about it. It's just kind of redundant and or pointless.
Though Chapter 1105 did just come out, and it seems like something is going to actually happen. Shocker. Looks like fighting is going to really kick into gear. There's a Buster Call on Egghead, which, this is our third Buster Call, and...
They've only become less and less dangerous with time, considering the power level of the characters in the universe. However, hey, watching Ohara Part 2, Electric Boogaloo isn't, it'll be fun, I guess. I don't know. I got a couple of friends of mine who think that Saul's actually going to show up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, considering it's a Buster Call that has Robin in it, and Saul was confirmed to be alive at the beginning of the arc, and we don't technically know where he's located, so you could justify however close you want him to be to actually be able to intercept that ship.
I'm assuming this is in reference to the fact that at the end of the chapter, they say that somebody is heading for Egghead?
Yeah, super vague. All we see is a destroyed Navy battleship that is burning, which could mean some things, but also there's a lot of ships in the series that burn. what Shanks did to Kid's entire ship is to be proved. A strong enough blow from anything will just cause things to explode, apparently.
Yeah, it's like in SpongeBob, how if a car just like goes over a cliff, it just
Yeah, like a
explodes.
nuclear bomb.
There's somebody, the pronoun they use is their, headed for Egghead. So it could be a group, it could be a non-binary.
Yes, a non-banana person, yeah.
A non-binary,
I mean, they're definitely a non-Bonnie person. That makes sense.
Am I having a stroke?
You probably are.
I don't smell toast, so I think I'm good. But yeah, somebody's heading here. There are thoughts that it's the Grand Fleet. There are some thoughts that it's Blackbeard pirates.
A lot of them are difficult to justify, primarily just because of travel time is now a thing in One Piece. Because, like, stuff isn't happening super close anymore. And it takes a while to travel around in the New World because it's so big. So you gotta really justify some shit. Which they could, soda, whatever.
Yeah, it's possible. And no break next week, which is good. We can get right into this after that. So that's the state of affairs of One Piece. My Hero Academia, Shigaraki's, like, big bad plan is kind of finally been laid out. He's going to try and decay Mount Fuji and blow up Japan, I guess.
Also, Deku is, at this point, becoming infuriating in his refusal to just kill Shigaraki. There's an implied fact that he could just do it as well. Nana literally is about to say, kill my son. And he's like, no, I don't wanna.
And, like, see, the thing is, I accept that Batman doesn't want to kill anybody because, like, his life was ruined by an act of senseless violence, and that he doesn't want anyone to go through that. But, like, Midoriya, I mean, come on.
Even Superman kills people, Midoriya. Come on, dog. You gotta try at least a little. Also, he's basically Satan right now. And, you can do it. It's okay.
Midoriya recently lost his Danger Sense quirk, and it seems like the second user with Gear Shift is going to go into Shigaraki on purpose. Apparently to like, either slow him down or to, like, inflict, like, internal wounds on him, I guess.
I mean, isn't there also the last panel which implies that
Star and Stripe.
Stars and Stripes? Yeah. So Stars and Stripes is there somehow? Because you see her, like, arm and bracelet just show up in the last panel. It's like, what?
Yeah. Also, this is off topic, but kind of not. Can I get a smell check on Shigaraki Midoriya? Because it's got to be nasty. Just looking at them, I can just tell they're stanking up.
Oh, they are bleedy, bloody, stanky boys.
Absolute just filth. Like, people like joke and say like Zoro and Luffy smell bad, but like
they do. Zoro and Luffy definitely both smell bad. I don't know. Actually, honestly, probably one of the better smelling members of the Straw Hats is Chopper. Only reason being is every single time I see Chopper bathing, he's always just constantly being washed by Nami and Robin, that lucky fucking reindeer. But also, like, he's bathing all the time.
But yeah, that's My Hero Academia. It seems like we're gonna get some. It's on break next week, but I don't think anyone really cares all that much. I heard some rumblings about what's happening in JJK. Like, didn't like Itadori have like a cross thing that he was going to stab Sukuna with? And
not really a cross. It was an Executioner's sword. It's an energy blade. It's basically like a think about it as like a Phoenix Wright lightsaber. It fizzled out because the person who used it passed out. Didn't die though. Passed out, most likely. Only reason being, it's already heavily represented in the series that when a person has some form of cursed energy out in the world, upon death, that cursed energy actually persists and becomes stronger.
Like Nen.
Yeah, similar to Nen. Yeah. Because everything's Nen. But it fizzles out as opposed to becoming stronger, so the implication is the Executioner's sword is gone, but the lawyer guy who cast it is alive still. Which is, that's something.
I've been seeing a lot of memes of like characters doing like about to like attack Sukuna with like their ultimate attack or whatever, and then like the next battle is Sukuna just being like, it's time to finally use my anti-Hikari technique. I haven't used it since the Heian era.
Oh yeah, because he apparently has a counter for literally everybody.
For everything.
To be fair, his counter most of the time is just being so fucking strong that it doesn't really matter what you're using against him. But there have been some really specific shit, like, oh cool, I'm just immune to lightning with this weapon. It's like, what? Who gave you this? Why? You could have beaten the lightning guy without being immune to lightning. This is just insulting.
So those are what I've been reading. What have you been?
All right, so I've been reading a bunch of stuff, mainline things and the standard, Shonen Jump. I don't want to say trash because it's like the food for the masses, but it's like fast food. It's not high quality sit down restaurant type of deal. Now mind you, the places that I'm going to aren't exactly anything nicer. It's like a Texas Roadhouse or something, but it's like slightly better. But yeah, I've been reading a bunch of things. The most interesting things that have happened that I've read recently is that, like, I don't know, we're starting another important fight for Hajime no Ippo. We got a real low-life, no-good-for-nothing man from, I think Brazil or something, fighting against the no-good-for-nothing guy from Japan. They're both basically, it is a classic thing, right? One guy's, they're both terrible upbringings, really violent tendencies, horrible anger management issues. But one of them has like a loving family that supports them and everything, and the other one looks like he's from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Kind of like that, the Avdol cut.
The JoJo Bizarre Adventure guy, by the way, I only say that because he has hair that looks like macaroni. Actually, no, it'd be more accurate to say he just has a bunch of ziti, like, just glued to his head. And it looks really out of place for Ippo, but, whatever. But that fight's starting. They finally touched down, and we've been waiting for that fight to start for the last year and a half. Dungeon Meshi, one of my favorite series out there, that has an anime now, and it's been, the first, 5 episodes are out, and it's nice. Because I actually watched the episodes of that. By the way, Dungeon Meshi is the first, new anime that I've watched within, the last 6 years. With intention. I've seen other animes and movies by accident, right? Like, I was at a friend's place or something. This is the first one I've seen on purpose in a very long time. And they've been doing it good so far. Something about the, animation's a bit too clean. I miss the old, thick lines that they do. With the manga. But then again, that type of stuff doesn't usually translate well to anime just because takes too long. Like, the detail is just, too time consuming. They can't pull that off. It's like similar line quality to what, the Dragon Ball Broly movie looked like. Yeah, because they had also, much thicker, more expressive lines and stuff, but also that movie, took years and was a couple $1 million to make. This was not. This is a monthly/weekly anime release thing. They're making very fast progress through the manga as well, actually. So I'd suspect the entire series is going to be done in 3 seasons tops, which is fine. Dungeon Meshi itself is only about 100 chapters long anyway. It's not a super long story. It's just very dense. It's rich. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's interesting seeing some of the characters being portrayed the way that they are literally from the manga to the anime, because some of them are meant to be sight gags, like single panel gags, but they fully animate them and they're great. Like how all of the characters have different reactions to being disappointed in Laius. The best reaction by far, Marcel's, when she just fucking breakdances when she's upset. It's very out of nowhere, you would not expect it to happen, and it's really funny in the manga, but animated, it becomes funny and also, really random.
I was just gonna, suggest, that if people hadn't listened to it already, listen to our, your Dungeon Meshi Spotlight episode we did back in October.
Yes. Highly recommend if you don't know the hell it is, or why you should like it.
It's a good little intro to that.
There's 2 series that I've been reading that I don't actually even recommend to other people. They're good. I like them. But they are definitely not for everybody. The art is debatably hideous, and the comedy is weird. But there's 2 series that I've been reading. One called Under Ninja, and the other one called Fable. I think it's Fable the Second Coming or something. Both of these are, I think, Under Ninja's actually a manga. It's actually made by a Japanese person. I don't actually know if Fable is Japanese. But both of them are kind of out there, really weird stories. If to give an idea to anybody who listening to this actually knows of the series other than Under Ninja made by this mangaka, they're the guy that made all of the I Am a Hero mangas. There's like, I think 8 of them or whatever. There's an I am a hero in each major Japanese prefecture, I'm pretty sure. And they're all interlinked and everything. The Under Ninja isn't, though. This is an entirely new series as far as I'm aware, from all the other stuff. There's no tie-ins to Psychic Zombies, so we don't really worry about that. That's the main villains in I Am a Hero. It's psychic alien flesh zombies. But yeah, Under Ninja's cool. And we are starting to like really rev up, or I guess speed up, when it comes to meeting the main antagonist. We're learning about more and more members of the hidden organization as a part of it. And Fable, the second part of Fable that is being released now, they're kicking so much ass right now, and it's really nice to see them just tear through people's shit as opposed to just like saying they're gonna kill people or like just riding off of their like notoriety. Just to give you a little bit of background here, Alex, the entire thing about Fable is how there's a character who's colloquially known as the Fable because he's the world's best assassin. But he's like this really weird, like mega autistic assassin, like Japanese guy. And when I say autistic, I don't mean like socially awkward in the traditional sense. I mean, like, this person is only good at killing and has nothing else going on for him. So when he tries to make it into regular society, because his main dream and goal is to just be like a normal salaryman, classic, setup for this type of thing, he's really bad at it. He ends up working for like an advertising firm that makes cartoons and stuff for people and mascots because he's so bad at drawing that he's gifted at being bad at drawing. So they're like, I want you to draw me a cow. And he draws one so bad that the boss almost dies from laughing. And laughing, he's like, you're hired. And they call him a genius. And he's like, that was the best one I could make. 6 figures for him take 3 days for him to draw type of deal. It's very funny. The whole thing is that because he's known colloquially as like the best assassin in history or whatever, he rides off his notoriety alone. So there's like opposing assassins you meet in the series that like try to fight him but realize they fucking can't because he's that guy, and they either give up or try their hardest and end up just getting killed. It's very good. The main character also swears off killing, which is hilarious considering. So he ends up making like weaker versions of tools, like, a grenade that only concusses somebody, or a gun that only shoots darts as opposed to regular bullets, or, making a bullet but shaving down the caliber of it so that if he shoots somebody, it won't kill them, but it will maim them severely, or just only stabbing them in their joints so they're crippled but they don't die. It's shit like that, and we're finally at a point in the story where he needs to throw hands seriously, and he's just like single-handedly taking down an army of assassins from around the world. It's very fun.
Right. It's like Killua, right, where he fucking
Similar, yes. Yeah, but the difference is, imagine if Killua was apologizing and warning people about how fucked they are each time he goes to fight them. He's like, you guys can turn around. I'm not gonna chase you if you decide to flee and like live. And they try to attack him. He's like, I warned you. And then he just destroys their ass. Oh, it's great.
There's a line that he has in Heaven's Arena where it's like, man, not killing people is really tough.
I mean, yeah, very similar vibes. Just to wrap it up with the other things I've been reading, though, if anyone's familiar with Kengan Ashura, or Kengan Ashua, if you don't pronounce the R, the sequel series to that, Kengan Omega, is also popping off now. We found out that there's another clone of the main character from the first series. Don't worry about it. Not everything is perfect in the evil organization's central leadership. There's potential, backstabbery and coup shit going on. And we're learning more about the weird, like, pseudo Chinese, like, demon magic that they've been using in the series. It's been getting less and less realistic as the series has been going on, but it's still kind of cool. And of course, the art in it is really nice, no matter how pronounced the mangaka insists on making all the male characters nipples.
Of course.
The last one is a relatively new one that I still highly recommend to anybody who's interested in reading it. Gachiakuta, the trash shonen that's new. Main character is able to imbue trash with energy to make them into cool weapons and stuff, and we finally got our biggest piece of world building that just happened. We also saw a character who was hinted at a couple chapters back to being important, who was taking a nap the entire, like, tournament arc that they were going through. Not tournament arc, but close to it. And they woke up and they turned into a fucking Godzilla, so that's cool. Not literally Godzilla, but basically Godzilla. It's very cool. Interesting year for certain things that I've been reading.
That's all we have. Then I believe we're ready for our topic of the day that we made a funny little skit about in the beginning of this, and that's time skips.
Which actually ties into the other thing we were just talking about a moment ago. Another series that I've been reading, which has a really long name, Survival Story of a Sword King in a Fantasy World, the abridged name. That one is currently right out of a 5-year time skip. Well, 5 or 7-year time skip. There's just shenanigans that went down, which caused the world to, like, experience time at real speed, where all the main characters were experiencing it super slowed down. So when they got out of the area that they were currently in, a lot of time passed, and the antagonist of the series won. So now they're dealing with the aftermath and fallout of them not being there for the world to help, like, fight against the evil organization. It's actually very cool. But yeah, time skips, though. That is a similar usage of a time skip to standard good stuff. Because there's a sliding scale for them, right?
There's really good ways you can use a time skip, and there's really bad ways you can use a time skip. For instance, one of the better ways to use a time skip, we both would say, is One Piece's time skip.
Honestly, if we use One Piece, we can use the big three here, right? The OG big three, Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach. And use them as a sliding scale, because honestly, they're a pretty good one for this particular subject.
One Piece is the good end. Bleach is sort of in the middle, or average, I would say. Unfortunately, Naruto goes in the bad category. I guess we'll start off with Naruto, just so we can
get the bad out of the way. Yeah, and also, so you don't have to shoot us or be angry for it any longer than you need to be.
Naruto fails in that it doesn't justify a reason to have a time skip. For those of you who remember correctly, Naruto, after getting beaten by Sasuke at the Final Valley, he resolves to go off with Jiraiya and train for 3 years. Also in that time, Jiraiya suspects that the Akatsuki will be making their move in 3 years, and that is sort of the reason why it's that long of a period of time.
But because of that setup, it's either arbitrary if nothing important happens, right? The 3 years. Or it's supposed to be really plot relevant as to what that time frame does to the world and everything, right? However,
once Naruto returns, he is at first very competent in the bell test against Kakashi when they return. Does not appear very much stronger after 3 years of training with Jiraiya. He loses his fight against Deidara, which is sort of the main fight of the arc, even though Sakura technically gets the main fight. But Naruto is not able to beat Deidara, even with Kakashi with him.
And that's the entry level fight for the arc, right? the Akatsuki are the main enemy now. Here's an Akatsuki member. Can he beat one? Answer, no.
And we find out that immediately after that arc happens, the next arc, he has to do more training to upgrade his Rasengan to a Rasen Shuriken.
And that training arc, right, the one that comes after, super short. He actually manages to learn how to use it, right? Not master, but use it, successfully for the first time. In what,
weeks at tops.
Weeks? Yeah, not even months. There's no way. There wouldn't have been enough time to pass.
He starts training when, before Asuma leaves and dies. Spoiler alert.
Yes, and he leaves. Yes, and he comes back right when they're being attacked by Hidan and Kakuzu.
They find Hidan and Kakuzu after searching for them specifically, and
just one-shots Kakuzu. Yeah. Rest in pepperoni, I guess. It's just an incredible just burst in power just to keep up with the rest of the series, which, mind you, he could have done in the time skip.
It makes no logical sense as to why Jiraiya didn't have him doing chakra nature training over the time skip,
or using shadow clones correctly, which apparently Kakashi of all people had to teach him. Which also Kakashi apparently just knew how to use shadow clones this entire time, and he's never used them for some reason.
I mean, first of all, Kishimoto makes up like a whole extra use for shadow clones, which isn't used in the time skip, but also like it just why does he have to have a training arc right after the time skip happens?
Which is supposed to be a training arc. It's a training arc you don't have to see to avoid the tedium.
Not only that, but also the world itself doesn't change. The characters slightly change. The characters become like tunings and jonings or whatever, but again, that doesn't really matter because like they were already as strong as like special tuning already, and the world itself doesn't change because the Akatsuki don't do anything for 3 years.
Yeah, in those 3 years, nothing happens. Yeah, nothing happens. And the thing is, like, technically, they do capture some of the tailed beasts in that time, right? But also, the fights to capture those tailed beasts were minutes to seconds long. That could have been done in real time. The amount of time it takes for this stuff to happen means nothing. Especially when it comes to travel time for these motherfuckers. Because many of them can either fly or teleport. It changes nothing. The completely point, I mean, if you ask me, Alex, the real reason they did a time skip in Naruto in particular is to make the characters of legal age. And I know that's a joke that I say to you with other shows and stuff, because it's funny, but also, like, legitimately, though. It changed up the character designs, right, which is, was a pleasant, change of pace, right, change of character designs and all that, but they also made Sasuke fucking hot. They made all the female characters acceptable to be creepy about, right? At least in Japan. And, like, they made Naruto a character that was technically the same age as the audience. Because, like, at that point in real life, a lot of people were Naruto's age that originally started reading it. And there's no way for Kishimoto to realistically keep up with this audience outside of doing the time skip to make him older.
The thing is, I come across as not liking Naruto on this podcast, but I really do like it. It was probably my first anime series that I ever like got into. I really like all the characters and stuff like that, but man, Kishimoto drops the ball on this, and then he just doesn't pick it up ever again.
I also think he didn't want to brutalize children for the finale of the thing. Could you imagine Madara beating up child Naruto and Sasuke? Oh, that'd be hilarious. I was supposed to say he just kind of fumbles it the entire time. Yeah. A lot of people who are OG Naruto fans, especially manga readers, kind of feel that the series had a significant drop-off right at the beginning of Shippuden, which is a shame. The most hype thing that I get in all of Shippuden is literally involving Sakura, which it feels like it shouldn't be. But Sakura's fight is probably the last cool thing that I actually enjoy from Shippuden before, the very, very ending with the whole army fighting against Madara all at the same time. That was hype as hell, but also he ended up writing himself into a corner and getting rid of Madara anyway, so. But yes, that's a bad time skip, though. Nothing happens, right? The world doesn't change, the characters don't change, the protagonists barely change. Besides Sasuke. Sasuke becomes strong as fuck for some reason. Naruto and Sakura, basically no difference. Sakura's comedic punches are now real, I guess, is the thing. And Naruto's kid, by the way, also another thing to mention, Sakura and Sasuke both get new techniques. Naruto learns nothing in the time skip. He still just has a Rasengan, he still just has Taijutsu. He learned nothing from Jiraiya. He didn't learn the cool hair stuff. He didn't learn, he barely got any better at summoning toads. He didn't even learn any fire release stuff. Jiraiya's like a master of fire release. He didn't teach Naruto nothing. It just... They didn't even learn what Naruto's chakra nature was. I completely forgot about that. Naruto didn't even know that chakra natures were a thing. He probably just assumed the fire style users just, ate peppers or something. God damn it. I completely forgot that wow, Jiraiya literally taught Naruto fucking nothing at that time. My lord. I suppose he was heavily distracted. That's what happens when you're a professional pervert, but still.
But, so, now that we've discussed a bad time skip, how about we move on to the average time skip. You're a bit more knowledgeable in this
And the Bleach stuff.
particular one.
So Bleach, unlike Naruto and One Piece, has a couple of these. They're not full-on time skips, like, not years go by. You do get, like, intervals of weeks or months. In between arc periods for Bleach, unlike One Piece, right, and even unlike Naruto, you don't really get a lot of exposition in between arcs. Most of the time, stuff just passes by, like time happens. Chad gets a new haircut. Ichigo loses his powers again, and so on and so forth. But like, we get time skips that involve off-screen training arcs with Bleach all the time. We get ones where they transition from one, arc to the other. And those particular type of time skips are the average ones. They serve a purpose. You don't get to see useless bullshit, which is fine, and the world progresses. Soul Society, for example, almost always goes through some type of fucking tragedy or, a crisis every time Ichigo leaves. So whenever we don't pay attention to the Soul Society and we look back again, it's on fire. The world changes, the characters change, right? We have members of Soul Society, specifically the Gotei 13 and everything, right? Where their skills improve. And we don't see them improving their skills. When we come back, they have, like, new Bankais or characters who didn't have Shikais unlock them and stuff. Or, Aizen's put into even further down into the ground to Mega Super Jail or something. Like, this type of stuff happens off-screen for Bleach, and it's good. It's not, like... It's not crazy, right? There's no, like, you don't get the same type of narrative payoff as you do in something like One Piece, which we'll be talking about next, right? But...
It's all the stuff that we don't really
exactly. Yeah, it saves time.
Like, it's good to have done.
Mm-hmm. It saves time, and it's justifiable enough, narratively speaking, to keep the pace going, but also change up character designs in the same way Naruto did, right, to their advantage in Bleach, without the detriment of nothing important happening and it feeling like we wasted time, if that makes sense, right? No time is wasted in Bleach, but we don't gain any any huge revelations during it either. On the other hand, though, right, when going on to One Piece,
going on to One Piece, it is such a stark contrast because, for one, I guess the context of this is all the Straw Hats are separated and they realize, hey, what we're doing right now isn't gonna cut it. There's like a whole second half of like the world we need to get to, and we're still kind of like in the rookie leagues here. So they all go off to individually train, but not only do they all individually train and like gain like better skills and stuff like that, like the entire world is like reeling from like a status quo shift that just happened, and like everything that like happens all makes sense for it to happen. Like islands are being taken back from like territories are being taken over from like one person to another person. There like an entire war happens between.
I was about to say, Whitebeard dies because he's dead. The entire payback war happens.
Yeah, the Whitebeard pirates try to fight the Blackbeard pirates, and that doesn't work out well for them.
Oh, the world government structure with the admirals completely shifts.
They have there's a whole like draft that happens, and they're getting more and more like high-ranking members in, like more vice admirals and like newer admirals in. Like everything shifts, and like you it's like you feel it all sort of like organically like come into play when like the time skip is like happening. Like we still get like developments and stuff that like stuff that happened over the time skip in like Dressrosa and stuff like that. Several dozens of chapters after the time skip has already happened.
Yeah, so we get tiny vignettes, right, to different portions of the world learning about Luffy and the Straw Hats. Because right before the time skip happens, we finally feel the weight of the entire journey up to that point. Because they're like, oh, who the fuck is Luffy? and then the world finds out, like, oh
Luffy.
Shit,
yeah,
that's Luffy. Oh my god, he's the guy who, liberated Alabasta. He's the guy that, punched a fucking celestial dragon in the face. He's the guy that was at the War of the Great. He's the guy who technically instigated the War of the Greatest, right? Like, the whole Marineford ship thing happened because of him. He broke people out of Impel Down and everything. Like, all of this shit was happening, and it was all the same guy? Oh my god. And then, you have the people who know Luffy. You also go back to Syrup Village and, all the other members of the Straw Hat Pirates crews, either being proud or concerned, right, for the respective members of the crew that happen to be with them. And It's just so fucking good. And then coming, like, I can't tell you how happy I was seeing them at like the same exact setting, but all of them capable of like actually dealing with New World pirates individually. What my greatest fear, right, after the time skip was that the coward trio, so Usopp, Chopper, Nami, right, would still be too weak to fight against New World pirates. That was my greatest fear during that. But we immediately see that each one of them became competent enough to take care of
It's
themselves
just
in
that
the
they
New
don't
World.
want to.
Now, mind you, yeah, exactly. They're still cowards though. But like, it's not like Nami's gonna be fighting fucking Kaido anytime soon, right? But she can fight goons now, like regular, like full on, like pirate crew goons from the New World, and she can live, and that's cool. Also, Usopp doesn't just shoot Tabasco sauce at people. He's got like Little Shop of Horrors bullshit now, and it's really cool.
It's like like so much development happens, so much just like good character work is done over that time. Like Oda really like shows that like if you really put a lot of thought and effort into this, you really reap like a really good harvest from that.
The character designs, by the way, changed also in the time skip. Of
outfits and
course they
everything.
did, right? Good excuse to do that. But most of the character designs had a purpose. Like when you look at the design, it's not like, okay, so like for example, in Naruto, if we look at pre-time skip to post-time skip, their outfits changed for more drip, basically. They just looked cooler and edgier as they went to the time skip. Not a lot of storytelling
like
done
go
with their
from
outfits.
Kind of like a fur lined coat to like leather jacket.
A fur animal coat to a hoodie.
Like what's that?
Yeah, I don't get it. But like, or why does Hinata, a person who uses martial arts stuff, suddenly have long sleeves now, like long droopy sleeves on the thingy? Whatever. Or even long hair. It's pointless. Even Neji put his hair back. The costume designs that changed in One Piece as a part of the time skip, because this is an aspect of it, right? Actually tell a story. What the fuck happened to Zoro's eye? We don't know. And we still talk about it because it probably has a reason. It's Oda, right? We trust him at this point to make good decisions for stuff like this. Luffy's entire outfit now is based off of Amazon Lily stuff, right? Because that's where he trained. Sanji's eyebrows changed direction. I still don't actually know what the fuck that's about, but his eyebrows changed direction for some
Frankie
goddamn
is
reason.
Now like a full ass cyborg now.
Like a full on, yeah. He's more Borg. He's more Psy than he's Borg, I guess. Right? He's more cyber now. He's like completely forgotten that. Oh, we see Chopper's character design where he's become even less human because a part of his whole character arc is embracing his monstrous side. Right? It's like, oh, I decided to be your monster instead. It's like, ooh, yeah, you do it, Chopper.
Brooks now like a drip god because he's like,
yes,
like a rock star now.
Yeah, he just became Van Halen, which is cool.
Like he has access to like fresh wardrobes now and not being like stuck on a ship for 50 years.
Yeah, and Nami's, with area technology stuff is like the reason why she, for whatever reason, is just constantly dressed in the bikini, which, loose justification for more skin, but whatever.
I'm not gonna complain.
Robin's MILF energy has maxed out and become untouchable after this time skip. All of her outfits are no longer just like, like a catty seductress. They're just complete MILF energy. Every single one of them post-time skip. Dear God.
Also speaking of that, we're going to gush about One Piece for a little bit more, but I promise we're going to get to something different. Like, they're now, like, changing outfits, like, pretty much every island now, as opposed to before, where they kind of, like, besides Nami and Robin, they had pretty much the same outfits, like, for every single arc.
Oh, Sanji did not take those pants off.
Yeah, no.
Ever.
They were glued to his legs.
Yeah. We've seen him take off the jacket. He takes off the jacket pretty consistently. Then pants, them shits to stay. They're to stay when he's on fire.
Or underwater.
Or underwater. Never removes them for any reason whatsoever. He'll be barefoot, but still with the pants on.
Yeah, exactly.
I am glad that Zoro kept his bandana.
Mm-hmm. And the
gotta love serious mode Zoro, and also his like, his little tummy, like boa or whatever. Yeah. It's nice. It's so good. The time skip, it does so many things for the story, but also for the designs and the characters' abilities, and also just general pacing as well. Post time skip, there's an entirely different feel to the way that the story is being told. Because, like, a lot of the front loading that Oda did, which we didn't realize was front loading, was done by then.
Yeah.
So he just started throwing new shit at us constantly post time skip, and we were eating it up, and we still do. We are still eating good when it comes to getting new shit from him.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have been possible without a successful, setup and then payoff with the time skip.
Exactly. Oh, speaking of sort of tonal shifts with a time skip, let's. I think sort of an interesting one is how Toriyama transitions from Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z.
Yes.
I don't know. Was it branded as Dragon Ball Z back then, or was it still just Dragon Ball?
It was Dragon Ball Z. The Z implied that it was actually the last bit of the story.
Right. So, yeah, after the tournament, like, where Goku fights Piccolo Jr., not that much time, like, passes from that, though, right? It's only, like...
It's several months. Gohan's just born. That's, like, it.
Gohan's born, and he's a little toddler baby boy. And then fucking Raditz shows up, this, like
alien monkey space pirate, yeah.
And he's like, Kakarot, you are my brother! Or however...
So for one thing, Kakarot, not a name.
No.
That not real. Also, what the fuck? Where have you been this entire fucking time?
Yeah. Like that shift from Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z is like a huge tonal shift, and I think Toriyama kind of uses that really well. Because, like, this is like, oh, this isn't like a fun monkey kid anymore. This is like aliens and like battle, like just full battle shonen at this point.
Yeah, and not just any aliens. Aliens with naturally born superpowers, of which Goku was the weakest. That's another cool thing that he seeds in there, right? Is that Kakarot was born as a low-class Saiyan warrior, which means he's technically the bottom of the barrel. And he's like the strongest guy before that series starts in Z.
Yeah, they knock him back to the bottom of the ladder and he's got to climb back up again.
And they really knock Piccolo down the ladder. He's no longer the son of a demon god. He's now just an alien slug man.
Yeah.
Hermaphroditic alien slug man. No penis.
You know, that could be a blessing or a curse. It depends on who you ask.
There's not a lot of crotch shots in Dragon Ball, so yeah, he's kind of bat neutral.
Toriyama, there's also like a bunch of there's actually like a lot of time skips in
Time
Dragon
skips,
Ball.
yes, and they're usually arc-based as well, similar to Bleach.
Yep, yeah. After the Frieza saga and into the Android saga, I think it's 6 months. I think, right?
Yeah.
And then from after the Cell saga to the Buu saga, it's like 5-10 years.
It's enough time for Goten to exist.
Yeah, that one's basically just like we need.
Goten and Trunks need to be real. Also, Gohan needs to be like able to attend college now.
Yeah, he can't just be like this 7-year-old who's killing Cell. We need him to be like a teenager now.
Yeah, which is still hilarious to me that Teen Gohan is not a teen, and Adult Gohan is not an adult.
Yep. But I hope for when Sparking Zero comes out, they still keep it as Teen Gohan and Adult Gohan.
Oh, that would be very funny.
From the Buu saga to
Super / GT, because Buu to Super, there's no time skip. It just happens.
It's days at most.
Yeah, like literally, Buu just got tamed. Goku started trying to get a real job because the world was presumably safe, right? And then it turns out that Vegeta completely forgot to mention that there's a cat god of destruction that will just kill everybody on a whim. Because Battle of Gods is the beginning of Super, right? Yeah. Yeah, Battle of Gods is the beginning of it. So the biggest time skip, technically, goes from Buu Saga to GT, of all things. Gohan and Goten and Trunks are now college age / high school, and Pan exists, and Vegeta has a mustache and leather pants.
He has a mustache.
And then they immediately shave it because, like Bra said, it's creepy. And you know what? Good on her. She got it right. And he shaves the shit immediately. Like 2 episodes in, not keeping that mustache Vegeta way too silly.
Kind of pisses me off that we didn't get to see Super Saiyan mustache Vegeta, because that would then show what Super Saiyan Nappa would look like.
We do have Super Saiyan Nappa in canon games, just never other canon material. And yes, it looks ridiculous. The mustache and beard, by the way, does not just turn blonde. It also becomes spiky, like Super Saiyan hair.
Yeah, of course it does. Why wouldn't it?
It looks so bad. It's hilarious, but it looks so bad.
And then at the end of GT, it goes into like another time skip after that.
Yes,
And
that's the biggest one actually. The time skip from the end of GT to the end of GT is technically the biggest time skip in the entire series, because Pan goes from being like 12 to being like 85. She's like ancient. She looks like Baba, the fucking witch hag that could resurrect people. Like, she gets really old. We know the Stone family's genetics allow them to age real slow. So she's got to be old as hell, because this is like Goku Jr. They're not actually Goku's grandkids. They're Goku's like great-great-grandkids or whatever. This is like several generations removed, to the point where technically Pan, I think, is his grandma. So yeah, that's like 3 generations in. Goku's just there. It's a ghost. We think. But he's also kind of a god now. It's a whole ass thing. Yeah, that skip is the biggest one. Virtually nothing changes of that, though. It's basically just like a nice sending off.
There's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is another like different way of doing time skips. For every single part, it's another like several like years.
And parts aren't arcs either. Not like how you would separate arcs, right, with like Dragon Ball and like Bleach, right? It's completely removed in JoJo's.
Yeah, it's more like an anthology series than anything else. So it starts with Phantom Blood, which is in like the 1800s. I'm not gonna look it up, but it's in the Victorian era, and then it goes, I think, 50 years to Battle Tendency, which is in the 20s.
Yeah.
And then it goes from that till the 80s with Jotaro, and then the 80s to 1999, and then from then to 2001 for Golden Wind, and then to 2009, I think, I don't remember if the accurate numbers on that. And then obviously Poochie fucks up and
I was about to say, then shit gets weird. Yeah.
Resets the universe or whatever. But yeah, like JoJo's uses time skips to just sort of like just throw out everything, the setting, the villains, the characters, everything. Just get that shit out of here.
It's not even really a time skip. It's functionally an entire different spin-off series every time. And the thing is, the power systems even change, and so do the stakes. Like, they're just so different from each other. The only time the parts get similar to one another are once the stands are introduced. Pre-stands, each part is vastly different from the other one. Like, the only through line and thread between any of them is, well, Dio, I guess. And even then, yeah, he's not really present for some of it at all. Like, just like the idea.
There's always usually one or two characters that make it from the previous part to the newer part. So for part 1, it's Speedwagon and Arena.
Yep.
For part 2, it's Joseph and Suzy Q. For part 3, it's Jotaro. And I guess Polnareff into part 5, technically. Part 4, it's Koichi into part 5. And then it's Jotaro again for part 6. Because as much as Ariki loves Rohan, he fucking loves Jotaro more, I'm guessing.
Oh, I hope so. It'd be impossible to bring back Joseph again, but that would be very funny if he's still there. He's still Jack, too. Like, oh my god.
It'd be more funny if, like, he just, like, stretched so hard to just get Rohan in every single part.
Oh, they just squeezing his ass in. Just a literal mummy by the end. Just a husk. Oh, but yeah, JoJo's is weird. They certainly don't do it in the traditional sense.
Yeah, but when does JoJo's do anything in the traditional sense, right? It's very on brand for them for that.
Yeah, they ain't got nothing. I was about to say, like, they have like a consistent, like, bright colors like some other shonen series, but even then they don't use colors right. Or they use it, or they're the only ones who use it right, depending on who you ask.
Ariki has gone on record saying that there's no definitive color palette for any of the characters.
What? Oh, I see. It's like, all of my characters are rainbow perpetually. Like, okay.
Moving on to another non-traditional time skip is Dr. Stone And spoilers for the Dr. Stone manga, I know if we have any anime oldies out there. There's a point towards sort of the end of the series where the American doctor, Zeno, his like men have cornered Senku's group, and they're about to fucking gun down this group of like teenagers, basically.
Hell yeah.
They decide that they're going to petrify everyone on the planet and have one person or two people. That's the plan anyway.
They hoped, yeah,
to like reset everything, and they'd have the advantage again. It only worked with one person. That was Suika, the sort of young ward of the group. She's sort of like, she's not comic relief. She's more like an assist character, I guess would be the best term for it.
Yeah. Her official title, as far as like Senku labeling people, is enthusiastic helper or whatever. Like, you know what? That's fair. Yeah.
Very true. Though when Senku does categorize her in her usefulness, he does categorize her as a SSR.
Yeah, I mean, it turns out somebody always willing to learn and help you is really useful.
Exactly. Also, she's probably one of my favorite characters in the series. So she manages to get revived, and she, unfortunately, she does not have the scientific know-how to immediately figure out
a bit of a dummy.
To depetrify everybody. So she does it the long way by using poop. She makes enough revival fluid after 7 years pass. So she goes from being this like little kid, kind of like I don't know, like what, 10 maybe?
I mean, no, she goes from like a not preschooler, but she's like an elementary school kid to like a middle school kid, basically. Because she's not a full-on adult after the time skip.
No, but yeah, she does age considerably, and she is But again, it's not exactly like a traditional time skip because she's the only one who like goes through it. But
time does pass.
Very true.
And a character design, singular, does change.
And the world...
the world does technically change as well.
Yes, so by the most the loosest of definitions, it is a time skip.
And by the most literal definition, it's actually a time skip.
Also, like arbitrarily, there's also like periods of time that just happen in between, like when they're building stuff.
But that doesn't really count. Like, we're not gonna... Despite how entertaining it would be to watch, like, the ripped dwarf man in their party just constantly nutting as he's, like, building a dam or something, we don't need to see that.
Yeah, we don't need to see them building the boat. We don't need to see them, like, sailing across the ocean or whatever. Same thing goes for, like things that take place in, like, during school years, like My Hero Academia. That the entire story takes place over a year, but that's, like... similar, but it's not at the same time.
I mean, speaking of My Hero Academia, there are actual time skip that does happen with them, right? Because they do have a real time skip outside of just like taking classes and stuff. The actual time skip they have is like kind of weird because of the structure of their world. Because they're interns for that year, right? They're not... This isn't just like a regular training arc. They're literally interning with professional heroes for that time to gain hero skills more so than like traditional shonen anime type of stuff. Like, obviously some of them get objectively stronger and get new techniques and everything, but like there's a lot of characters that just learn how to be better heroes, which is cool.
Even like the more minor of the characters.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and some of the things they get, by the way, because the world of My Hero Academia is so technically professional and commercialized, is the best way to put it. Some characters, the only thing they get from the time skip are professional connections.
Which, it's still important.
Hey,
in their world it is.
In their world, yeah, that is more than viable as the thing that you get, right? Like, imagine if this was a different setting with, like, wars and stuff. Like, they get new allies, right? Like, political ties to, foreign tribes or something. But, like, yeah, oh boy, I know who Gunhead is now. Or, like, I've met Gang Orca. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I still refuse to talk to my dad.
Fuck you, Dad, too. Electric, ice and fire.
Fire Boogaloo, yeah. Oh, man. It's just... What a waste of a time skip for him. Just refuse to talk. Entire year. That was it. We're still gonna talk? No. Okay, fine.
Shoto, I'm so glad you're here to learn from my hero agency.
No, I'm here to actually learn from your interns. It's like, what? Are you still mad? He's already gone, sir. No. I mean, so if we're going down this kick of, like, weird-ass time skip, I might as well mention that there's an entire subsect of manga-esque things, because these are technically not mangas. Because all we've been talking about are traditional, like classic Shonen Jump stuff. By the way, if this wasn't already like obvious and apparent, time skips are most prevalent, from my experience anyway, as a manga reader, in shonen. That genre, right? Battle manga in general tend to have time skips the most frequently. You can get them, yeah, because training is tedious, and you don't usually train in romance mangas.
Even with like gag mangas and stuff, like what do you really need to like pass a bunch of time for other than just like
Unless passing time is literally the gag, right? Like the character comes out of the woods with like a big beard or something, right? Like unless that happens, they don't include that. You even have like shoujo stuff, which is basically shonen for girls. They don't really do time skips either, because power levels in shoujos make even less sense than shonens, because a lot of them either have always been that strong or they're just ass pulls. It's like, oh, you're entirely fueled by love. We don't know how to quantify that, but you go, queen, just go off, girl, I guess. The genre of manga-esque things I'm talking about, though, are manhwas specifically. So now, I don't know, depending on who you ask, what you qualify as a manhwa. Because some people think they're only Korean mangas, right? But other people categorize Chinese mangas as manhwas as well. I'm one of the people at the camp that categorizes basically all non-Western, non-Japanese manga as manhwas, right? So if it was like Vietnamese or something, I'd also probably consider it, a manhwa too, unless they specifically have a word for it in Vietnam. Manhwas that I'm familiar with are generally Chinese and Korean. Outside of all of the romance stuff that they make, because there's a lot of that. The most prevalent genre in manhwas that I've seen, outside of shonen-esque things, are isekais. There are isekais for days within that genre. Like, holy crap. All of the ones that have the really stupidly long names are manhwas, by the way. Like the survival story of a sword king in a fantasy world that I mentioned earlier. I believe that one's a Korean manhwa. So these stories, and I will mention that specifically for this, are weird with time skips, because they have them everywhere. They are all over the goddamn place. And the thing is, they're kind of pointless. They're a bad example of time skips, and they're rampant. But because of the type of storytelling and also the type of power system that they're used to within those cultures, it kind of doesn't matter, and it's also kind of necessary for those genres to exist. So just to put some groundwork here, right? Something to give you an understanding of where this is coming from. In traditional Chinese storytelling, you know how there's a hero's journey, and there's usually a power system in these type of shows, right? Even in American Western comics and stuff, when a superhero needs to get stronger, right, they just train or they get better equipment. That's it. But it's pretty linear and it makes sense. With Chinese shit, people ascend to different ranks and levels of enlightenment. Meditating for 1,000 years is a training arc. Eating pills given to you by a turtle that used to be a dragon is a training arc. This, alchemy plus waiting plus gifts from God are how you get stronger in that power system. And that is completely different from, traditional, Western comic books and mangas. There's nothing, usually comparable to that type of shit. And it's commonplace over with Chinese stuff. So in manhwas, they do these time skips because time is an infinite resource, apparently, and it does not matter to the plot, because the character they left behind when they went to a retreat to meditate under a waterfall for 1 billion years is the same age when they get back, and they look the same and still remember them. I don't know how it happens, but it's just how they do it. And the manhwa time skips are really fucking weird. So if anybody reads those, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And if anyone doesn't read them, just if you start, I do recommend them. They're a different type of storytelling, and it's a nice, refreshing take on, similar themes to other things you may have read. But don't get comfortable ever with what you think you're going to be coming up with, because it will not be. Let's end the episode with your favorite time skip. And then I'll end with mine as well, and we can call it a wrap for the year.
Oh no!
Not the whole year,
You're going
Jesus.
somewhere?
For the episode. There you go. Yeah, I'm going to another training arc. I'm sorry, Alex.
Oh no!
I'm going to a different type of void.
It's really good. It's just gotta be One Piece, right? There's just no.
Oh no.
There's nothing really that can really top it. I mean, I hope for like it to be done, but I will say I think it isn't entirely Kishimoto's fault that the Naruto one
It's really
is
good.
bad.
The
Well,
one
it is
the
his
One Piece
fault,
timeskip
but
is very
not-
good. S tier timeskip for sure.
It's more so that like he didn't really invest in like anything but the Leaf Village for like part one.
Well, he's literally the writer,
right,
but
like we don't like the reason that like the Hidden Stone Village and the Hidden Cloud Village don't do anything is because we don't know any characters from either of those villages, right?
yeah, so there's not really anything to flesh out in the first place. We barely even know they exist. Outside of like anyone who actually read the data books and looked at the maps, we would not have known they even existed. I mean, shit, before the Hidden Cloud Village, I didn't even know black people existed in Naruto.
I'm glad you said in Naruto.
Yes, I am aware they're real in real life, Alex. But no, I would not have been aware that they existed in Naruto of all places if that village did not exist.
Maybe if Kishimoto had like fleshed out his world a little bit more or something, this might not have been too bad. But the way it is, even with what he did have, he didn't really take advantage of what could have been done with like all the characters and stuff.
So your favorite is going to be just One Piece, then, I suppose. Okay. So my favorite time skip, then, it's not One Piece. One Piece is up there for sure. It's like the ideal time skip for me as well, right? We both agreed that it's probably, the best of the best. But my favorite, though, is not that. And it is weird as fuck and doesn't make sense. There's a series that used to be popular back in the day, like 2012, better days, called Kotekyo Hitman Reborn. I think actually it may have been around 2008 or something. It was an earlier anime, and it was at a time where there was a lot more like weird, goofy, experimental shonens and mangas out there. It started off as like an episodic pseudo slice of life gag manga where the main character had to shoot himself in the head every day to like get over his like whatever flavor of the week was holding him back, like I can't talk to girls, or I'm really bad at climbing. Oh boy, it's a good thing Reborn's gonna snipe me today. Eventually, it started becoming more serious, and I would highly recommend anybody who's interested to actually read the manga past like chapter 20. You can ignore the first part. It's very nice, and when they started taking themselves a bit more seriously, they did eventually end up falling into those gag things they did, but in a more serious way that makes sense in universe in such a cool and like actually logical but really weird way. So the series, just to put it very simply, is about just magic demigod babies that are all world-class assassins for different mafias or organizations. I'll just leave it at that. If that piques your interest, you can go ahead and read the series. However, the world has a lot of weird technology that's obviously not real, but it's always consistent. So you have the special bullets that the Vengola family uses, the ones that, the main character soon has been getting shot with constantly, right? And they actually flesh out those bullets. You know what they do now, there's different varieties of them, right? And there's a power set and system based off of them and all of that. And eventually it turns out that those bullets have just been seeding that ability innately into Suna's consciousness and subconscious to the point that once he gets to a sufficient level of power and like heart energy, protagonist shit, right? That he can just activate that state of mind without having to be shot in the face, which is cool. It's generally inconvenient to have somebody shoot you in the head for you to start fighting seriously. In this world with that power system, right, they had a bunch of things that were weird one-off gag shit, or consistent gag shit that this kind of seems, more funny than it is cool. And one of those is something called, I think it's like a decade bazooka or whatever, where it shoots you, it shoots you into the future and replaces you with a future version of yourself a decade later. I don't know why that's a practical weapon. Doesn't feel like one to me, but, whatever. The character that uses this, Lambo, traditionally in the series, because he's a gag character, he's a fucking baby that's dressed like a cow. Don't worry about it. His whole thing was that he shot himself in the face with a bazooka to fight people, right? Occasionally he'd like eat a grenade instead, right? Age up slightly less, but he'd shoot himself in the face with a bazooka and it would age him a decade. And when he did that, he replaced himself with a more competent version of himself as a teenager. So he'd be roughly the same age as the main cast now. He's no longer a baby. He's around the same age as them, slightly older even. And he has like skills relevant to be able to help them at that time. But there was always a small minor thing about his character that they didn't play into until the time skip, where because he's literally him from the future, he has knowledge of the future because he's literally from there. And each Lambo they meet whenever the bazooka is used technically is a different one. Because every time he comes back to the past, right, to help himself, he's altering his own future. So each Lambo we meet is different. And at some point, they end up fighting against a guy so powerful, Lambo needs to shoot himself twice. So he shoots himself in the face as a baby, becomes a teenager, and then shoots himself in the face again as a teenager and becomes an adult. And it's really hype and is awesome, and he gets like lightning powers for some reason. I don't get it, but all of this, right, comes into the fact that he gets more fucked up as he gets older, and we don't know why. And it turns out the future isn't great. And at some point, they accidentally, and Lambo in this case, accidentally shoots three of them, or I think three? Yeah, 3 or 4 of the main cast members into the future. And they're just gone. They're completely gone from the present, replaced with their future selves. And because they're now in the future, for whatever reason, the bazooka also doesn't work correctly. The regular arbitrary, like, 10-minute time limit for the transformation is also not happening, and they stay there for, a while. But they end up getting trapped in the future. And this is a version of the future that they haven't experienced yet as themselves from the past. And then they get trained by future versions of their teammates, and they learn about a power system that they haven't gotten access to yet because they are shitty kids in the past. And then they learn about these things, get skills from their future, which was fucked up, so they can go back to the past to correct the future that isn't going to happen, because if they do, they'll die. And it's technically a 9-year time skip. Because they go, it's like 9 years and a couple months, but like they go basically a decade in the pseudo potential future so they can get all the skills necessary to fix their no longer past and make a new proper future for themselves.
Yeah, I'm sure this makes sense when you're reading it, but boy,
Oh, dude, it's the first time I read that, I was as confused as you sound and probably feel. In retrospect, it's so cool. And also, for anybody who does want to read it, seeing Tsurayusa's ultimate technique at the end of the series for the first time is one of the most satisfying things I've ever read. Because he's such a whiny bitch the entire time. But he finally takes shit seriously at the very end, and it's so satisfying. Just to see him actually go beast mode on somebody. Oh, it's really nice. Also, the mangaka has a really cool way to draw fire that I don't see anybody else do.
Right. Well, that is our time skip episode. Hopefully there won't be another time skip when we for the next one.
Upload again in real life. Unless we don't make any videos for this year and you watch it again next year.
We're not gonna do that. Yeah.
Don't do that.
Don't worry.
I mean, you could do that. You could ignore all the episodes we released this year and then just watch this again next year.
Try to get one once a month. Spoiler alert for the next episode. I think we're gonna do a tokusatsu episode, right? Is that what?
Yeah, I mean, hey, if anyone's hype about that shit, I am big fan of the dive kick variety. Just
I told myself
drop
I
kicks
wanted
for
to get
days.
Kamen Rider this year, so that's.
So the next episode will be watching a man weeping at the feet of a new gambler, telling them to quit the habit before it becomes too late.
That's us. Just one more thing before we go. I just want to shout out my friend Logan's webcomic, Journey from Ashes, on Webtoon. You should go check it out. It's really cool, really nice artwork and stuff, and you should go support them. It's not a sponsor. They didn't pay me to say that. It's just really good. Yes. the most valuable
They
currency
paid him
of
in
all.
friendship. It's fine.
No,
I mean,
we ain't
depending
really
on the
fairy tale.
oh,
Is there
depending on the
time
series,
skip in Fairy Tail?
like
Yeah,
legitimately, it might be.
The less we
There
talk
it is.
about Fairy Tale, the better.
I think there's actually 2, but we're not going to talk about Fairy Tail. All right.
More like.
I already
The
forgot.
score is
I think it's on
0.
Eden 0 now. Anyway, no matter. Did you know that the creators of Naruto and Fairy Tail both ended up
that is
making
weird.
the series
But
after the
at
main
least
series
Samurai 8
and
wasn't like
based in
copying
space with
characters
cyborg
and
people?
designs from Naruto, though.
Well, the thing is, I don't think they were copying characters and designs. Well, besides Lucy
That's
and
also probably
Patchy,
true.
but I don't think they were copying designs from the other series. I legitimately think they don't know how to draw anybody else. Because all of the ladies and we're not gonna get into it. We're not talking about Fairy Tail. Okay, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yeah. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.